Hey guys, I'm Si and welcome to Ace Podcast Nation, the home of the Andy Campbell Football Show. And this is episode 102 and this is 2021, the first show of the year. And hopefully this year will be better than the last, is all I can say. But as usual, you can find all the great shows which you do on Ace Podcast Nation, youtube.com/Ace Podcast Nation, and the audio versions at all the usual podcast platforms. And of course you can get the, if you just want to streamline your experience for football, follow at A.C.E Footy Show on social media, and you can also follow Ace Podcast Nation on various podcast platforms. And just as we wait for everything to fill up, as it were, and all the different platforms that I mentioned, because we are live, Facebook, YouTube and Twitter, a big first thank you of the year for, firstly, Black Diamond Sports for all their support around the show as ever, and of course our sponsors of the Andy Campbell shows, which is Bespoke Financial, and here's just a quick word from them.
My mummy and daddy have been talking about life insurance. It sounds like something to protect my brother and me, but I don't really understand. Then my auntie Louise told mummy about Bespoke Financial Teesside. She said they're a local company who helped her with her life insurance. Mummy got in touch, and because they're based locally, a man called Darren was able to come to our house. He was really friendly. Darren stayed for a cup of tea and made it all really easy to understand. He said that life insurance will protect our home and family if anything bad were to happen. Like if mummy or daddy got sick, then we'd get enough money to take care of us, and our house would be paid for so we wouldn't get taken away. After an hour, Darren said goodbye and mummy and daddy seemed a lot happier. Once it was all sorted, we could all relax and watch a film together as a family. I don't know why they didn't do it sooner.
Yeah, big thank you to Bespoke Financial. Of course, they've sponsored the show for a while now, almost half a year. But they specialise in life insurance, critical illness, income protection, mortgages and sports cover. And as ever, we thank them for sponsoring the show. And Darren Ralston of Bespoke Financial is still doing the offer where he's giving away a free will worth £140 with any new policy which is taken out. So check them out, give them a call, and don't miss out on that amazing offer. And I'll talk about that a bit later again. But yeah, they've been looking after Andy for a few years now with various things. And speaking of Andy, introducing him, the goal collector, the fox in the box, still the king of Middlesbrough, the second worst town in the country. He is David Jones's favourite son. Welcome to the hellscape that is 2021, my friend.
Good evening, mate, and yeah, Happy New Year.
Indeed.
This year can't be any worse. You know what I mean? When I say that, we're all in anticipation of some news in the next half an hour. So when I say that, I say it very flippantly. But listen, this show, this platform, this idea, what we had seems like many moons ago, gives us all an opportunity to forget the real world for a little bit and live for what we love for. Live for what we love, and what we love is football. And there's so many things to talk about, Si. You know, obviously we haven't had a live guest over Christmas, which, you know what I mean, is understandable with obviously asking people to do something over Christmas, New Year's is difficult and things. Yeah, they've had a busy time. So we have got some very interesting guests coming up over the next 3 weeks. I already booked 3 in, which will be news to Si because I haven't told him. So I won't name them, but you'll find out. Got some good news before I came on from all 3, so I had to try and juggle some dates around. So very interesting time, some great things for the show. But yeah, can't wait for tonight. I'm really looking forward to talking about the subjects that we've decided. Yeah, really excited.
Yeah, 100%, mate. I can't wait. I want the show to finish now, so you can tell me who those people are. I've got to wait like an hour and 15 minutes. I might just text you in a minute and just, who is it? But yeah, it's been an interesting week, mate. Obviously, we had all the festive football, as it were, and whatnot. And like, there's been games called off. There's been managers sacked. There's been players banned for social media posts. There's been weird Lamborghini crashes with images, and Sheffield United are probing that. And it's been a very not boring couple of weeks on the football front. But I would like to start, mate, with Scottish football. We don't talk about Scottish football a lot. And I feel that Rangers are running away with the SPL at the moment. And I've heard for years, particularly over the last 10 years, where Rangers haven't really been competing, how Celtic would come in and you can't put them in the Championship because they'd walk the Championship. They've got to go straight into the Premier League and they'd probably compete in that. They'd be in the top 6. And I've always been like, no, I don't think so. There's like 3 good clubs or three good football teams, should I say, in Scotland. There's lots of good clubs. I just don't see it at all. And like Rangers have literally come from the bottom, and it shows that with a bit of money and a bit of a name, and you can attract certain players, you can just work up the leagues straight to a title contender. It's taken them a few years, once they got back up to the Premier League. But they're not only competing for the title like they did last year, arguably they competed till the last sort of part of the season. They're running away with it, mate, at the moment. You're muted anyway, mate. Did you hear any of that, mate?
We'll have to come on.
Didn't you? Right. So, tell me what you guys think, because I don't think there's any way that Celtic could come in and compete in the Premier League or even the Championship. I think they'd struggle in the Championship. So, did you hear any of what I said, mate?
I think I'm back. I'm back now.
Did you hear anything of what I said, mate?
No.
So, basically, I said, I've heard over the last 10 years, I'll paraphrase it very quickly, people were telling me how Celtic, they should go straight into the Premier League because they'd walk the Championship, they'd walk this, they'd probably compete in the in the Premier League if they came into it, and I've never really bought it. And then, I think Rangers have kind of shown, they went right back to the bottom of the Scottish pyramid, obviously had a name, had a bit of cash, so they were able to attract a better player, in League Two than the other teams, but they've kind of worked their way up season by season, and then once they got to the Premier League, it did take them a couple of years to really compete. Last year they went close before kind of, failing at the last part of the season. This year they seem to be running away with it, and to me that shows how poor the league is. Because look at not FC United of Manchester. What's the other one? Salford City. Yeah. They walked through the non-leagues with money. But once they've got up to the big leagues, if you like, the League 2, League 1, they haven't been able to continue that, season by season promotion. And I just feel look, there's some amazing clubs in Scottish football, amazing, like Aberdeen and Dundee's and all these historic clubs, Hearts, Celtic, Rangers. They're amazing historic clubs. Yeah. But as football teams, there's those, maybe Aberdeen, Hearts, Celtic, Rangers, that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, the problem for me, Si, is it's the size of the clubs. I think sometimes we get a little bit blasé about the size of a football club and the size of a stadium, and because they've got all this heritage, all this history, all these trophies in the cabinet, all singing, all dancing, everyone just presumes that they're successful. I could ask a question to the viewers, ask a question to you. Who's the bigger football club, Rangers or Nottingham Forest? For me, Nottingham Forest have won the Champions League, they've won titles, they've been in the Premier League, they might be in the Championship now, not having a great time, but it's because of football and what happens in football. If Rangers went in the Premier League, they generate a lot of money. Of course they would, to sell out week in, week out. But what comes with that is pressure. What comes with that is buying the right players. What comes with that is, you look at some teams who are struggling in the Premier League. Arsenal, for example, yes, they've picked up over the last few weeks, but they're still struggling in a Premier League which is so competitive. I know we're going to talk about that later on, but for me, I've been torn, because sometimes I think, do you know what? Let them in the league just to see how they do, But then part of me thinks, well, let's be fair. You'd have to start at a level which suits other teams, because why do they get the divine right to get promoted? But then I think, hang on a minute, why shouldn't they start right at the bottom? Because then teams like Salford, teams like anybody, Plymouth Argyle, might feel, well, why are they getting special treatment? Why are we not getting promoted? Why are we? So I can see it from probably every side of the coin. I've always said, and you've said, for me, I'd love an Anglo-Scottish Cup, and have that kind of competitiveness in a cup competition, knockout scenario where You know, I mean, North and South.
I think I said that, didn't I, about the League Cup, didn't I?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I think it would really see if they could be really competitive and how they would fare against Stoke City on a Tuesday night away from home at the Britannia. You know.
Did you see the interview with I think it was Lewandowski? He said he scored, like, they interviewed him after the game, and they'd obviously played on like a Tuesday night and it was raining or something, and he said, so it seems I can do it on a cold night in Stoke on a Tuesday or something.
He put it on Twitter, and I think some players don't get enough credit for how humorous they can be and how real they are, and how they watch football, because you would only know that by watching English football and seeing, you know what I mean, and seeing the old Premier League and seeing how football is now, because, you know what I mean, he's a player, he's a proper player. He's a player that I'd love to see in the Premier League. You know, I'd love to see him on a Tuesday night.
Best striker in the world, mate.
Yeah,
best striker in the world, easily.
He doesn't get enough credit for me, but that's another story.
So, a couple of good comments I want to get to in a minute, straight away, as usual, as we expect from our high standard of viewer. I want to pose a question to you, though, mate. If, say, we do get this kind of League Cup or an Anglo Cup where it mixes up those leagues, what happens when Celtic go out in the first round to Salford City, say, and they lose 4-1? Like, that conversation's over then forever, isn't it? Like, if they get trounced, or all the Scottish teams get trounced by the lower league EFL teams, that's it, isn't it? That conversation's gone then, because
I think so. I think for me they'll be under a lot of pressure because I look at some of the big sides: the Man City's, the Arsenal's, the Liverpool's, the United's, Chelsea's that are playing under 23 players, playing squad players up to a certain round, or second string goalkeepers or whatever. But Celtic and Rangers couldn't afford to do that, because they couldn't afford to mess around just in case a bad result happened, because they're trying to put a flag in the sand. They're trying to make sure and put a marker down to say, we deserve to be in the Premier League. We deserve to be fighting with the best teams. And the only way to do that is by walking a cup competition. Because I can't remember, someone will tell me if I'm wrong here, but I think there's not been one club who's won that cup competition for 4 or 5 years on the bounce and done that throughout. Because once you win it once, you take your foot off the pedal a little bit. You're there to be shot at. Teams enjoy playing against you. The draw's not kind to you all the time. So it's a difficult cup competitions to win sometimes.
Spot on, mate. So I'm going to get to some of these comments then. I saw Gavin said earlier Stevie G's doing a fantastic job at Rangers. I agree, but I also disagree a little bit, because, like, what's he playing against, really? And that's my problem with the Scottish League, in terms of it's very hard to judge. It's very hard to kind of judge what they're playing against. Because the opposition is so bad, so it's like, how do you deal with that? I was straight away there with a great comment.
No political questions, by the way. Regardless if you've got a question mark on the side of it.
Politics are banned.
Love it, Dad. Love it. No, sorry, to jump on, piggyback your comment there. Listen, I think it's a great first job for Stevie. I think he's gone in there. He's changed the mentality of some footballers. He's changed the mentality of a football club. He's given them a platform now to battle it out against Celtic, who were so formidable. It was scary. So he's evened things out a little bit. He's given them an opportunity. But for me, once Stevie does what he needs to do in the summer and he wins this league title, because for me it's a formality. If he doesn't win it, he doesn't deserve to be there. But for me, he's won it already with what's going on. But then he's got to come south somehow. If that's a Premier League club or a top Championship team from somebody who comes out the Premier League and get into English football, because he's got to prove himself, like Frank Lampard proved himself at Derby County and then moved up to Chelsea, which is another story, because obviously what happened yesterday with the big game. But that's another question mark
about Frankie.
With another question mark. But listen, all he can do is beat who's in front of him. All he can do is keep clean sheets. All he can do is be attractive and play in a certain way and a brand of football. And at the minute, he's ticking all in boxes. So all Stevie can do is do what he's doing. And for me, the best thing Stevie Gerrard ever did was bring in the backroom staff that he brought in. So that's Gary McAllister. That's people who he trusted from Liverpool. So he's put his back in and his trust in people he believes can make him better. And for me, how can you fail when you've got people like that behind you? It's impossible sometimes.
Yeah, I think your backroom staff's more important than your players in many respects. So I'm going to go back to these comments which I was referring to earlier. Rhys David Evans said, apart from Rangers Celtic, the rest of the SPL rely on the unwanted Championship League One players and good scouting. And if anyone does shine, they're usually sold back cheap to either England or the big two up there. And that is a problem in terms of Scottish football developing, isn't it? Is that Celtic and Rangers pick up all the best players, and if they don't, the Championship League One do. And the other aspect of it is the TV money. All the TV money goes to Rangers and Celtic, with the rest of the teams picking up the pennies which are left over, because ultimately the Sky viewers, or the Sky in the UK or in England and Wales, say, they're not interested in watching any of the other Scottish teams. They only want to see Celtic and Rangers play. And that's a problem, because it restricts the growth of the other teams financially to ever be able to compete. And that's why you've only ever seen the likes of Aberdeen and Hearts really, and even them, they haven't really pushed them close in many years, have they?
It's frustrating, isn't it? Because Scottish football's improved. They've got themselves in a major final. They're doing really well, but you look at the main players who are doing really well for Scottish football, and it's McBurney. Where's he playing? Premier League centre forward. Robertson. Where's he playing? Left back for Liverpool. That all these players are progressing away from the Scottish football. Yes, they came through in the Scottish ranks. They came through in other countries, in other teams, brought up with the development, but they need some real grassroots investment, and probably rules that stop Celtic and Rangers just penny picking all these best players for cheap at good prices. Because in order for the Hibs, the Hearts, the Dundee Uniteds, the Motherwells, the Hibernians, in order for them to do well, they need the best players. Because if they produce a good young player and they sell them for £1 million, £2 million, yes, it's half decent money, but then they've lost a really good player, so then they've got to fill that hole, and that hole gets filled by reinvesting that money into a lesser player. It's a risk, you know what I mean? And it's so upsetting sometimes for clubs.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Go back to some of the comments. Leslie said, and you said this when you asked the question about Celtic and Forest. He said what Leicester did was a bigger achievement than what Man City did, winning the league. Nottingham Forest, because they don't like Notts Forest, do they? Nottingham Forest topped it though with a Champions League win with no household names at the time. I think was phenomenal. But I mean, I think also what Leicester did, and we're going to talk about Leicester among other clubs a bit later on with regards to the Premier League title race. What Leicester did, was unbelievable. Still unbelievable. Even though it's happened, it's still unbelievable.
Will it happen again?
Well, I think potentially Leicester, I think, because they're more consistent than United and Man City at the moment, I think it's only my personal opinion that Leicester are more likely to win the league than Manchester United or Man City.
But if Leicester won the league this year, would it be a big achievement or a shock?
I think it's still a massive achievement.
It'd be a big achievement, but it wouldn't be as big of as a shock, or I'd be astounded like I was. You know what I mean?
For example, you're only shocked because they've done it. Like if you take out that title pitch, that title,
possibly. But I look at some of the players. I look at some of the players they've got now. Yes, they haven't got Kante, who's a huge player. But some of the players they've got now, they've got better players in and around.
They've got young players now, haven't they?
When they won the league with Wes Morgan, for example, that was a huge achievement. Danny Simpson, you know what I mean? These kind of players who either still not there. Almost, Danny Drinkwater. You know what I mean? These kind of players who, listen, they overachieved massively, but do you know what? They fully deserved every accolade they got, and no one can ever take away that winner's medal, and rightly so. Yeah, a huge achievement.
Well, I think outside of Kante, Vardy, and Schmeichel, the rest of the squad was predominantly made up of players who had failed to make it at the top level.
Other clubs,
ex-Man United, ex-Chelsea, etc. Whereas now, I feel like they've got some of the best young talent in the league. And I think it kind of evens itself out. I think they've got a far superior squad, even though they haven't got a world-class player like Kante in there, arguably.
Well, Gav's just put an interesting comment in there, because it was a player that I wanted to mention there, but I didn't mention. I watched the game against Newcastle quite closely yesterday, and he was just unplayable. And Jamie Vardy must be rubbing his hands together every time he's named on the same team, because he's that link between the front man in the midfield. He doesn't need another body next to him when he's got somebody like him who plays with so much freedom, so much guile. He can create things. And people go on about Jack Grealish, and rightly so, by the way, because Jack's an excellent player with huge potential, and he's doing amazing things at an amazing club at the minute. But for me, Maddison's doing exactly the same thing, but more regular and
higher up the league,
more consistent, and probably would fit the mould of England a little bit better than a Mason Mount, for example, and maybe he's a Jack Grealish. That he's playing for a manager who believes in him. Brendan's he's a masterclass. He's got something. He oozes class. You know what I mean? He's had a few knocks in his career, but he suits some managers suit certain clubs and certain ways of doing it, and Brendan seems to suit a team of an underdog, for example, than a team with loads of pressure and expectation.
Do you think, though, like ultimately, if a Liverpool or United or whoever come in with a bid, which is whatever the amount is that Leicester will accept, will Leicester sell? Like, I feel like even though they are their title, I just think even though they're title contenders, they would still sell to the big clubs, and it's a problem that other clubs have had in the past when they've broke into that top 4 or 5. They've still been selling to the perceived. I don't think
it's a financial aspect, because I think now with the owners and obviously what happened to the previous owner, obviously in the tragic circumstances what happened, they don't need to sell. So the only way that Marcus Maddison would leave is if he wanted to leave to go to another club. And for me, career suicide comes to mind if he wants to leave to go to a team like Man United, for example, because I look at some of them players. You know what I mean? Yes, he's on paper, current form, better than a Pogba. Would he take over a Fernandes? For me, it's either or. I don't think you can play them both. You know what I mean? So it's too many cooks, because Man United like to play 2 centre forwards, for example, at times. You know what I mean? Or wide players. They don't have that link. So
more than anything.
So it's but if Man United come calling, if you're a Man United fan, you've got a dream to play at Old Trafford, then
it's difficult, isn't it? Same as Liverpool. It's
a hard one.
Ingrained in history, isn't it?
And this is the thing about Jamie Vardy's side for me, that if Jamie Vardy hadn't won the league, he'd leave? Yeah, because that. I look at Alan Shearer. Alan Shearer it's the biggest travesty ever that Alan Shearer hasn't won the league. Stevie Gerrard hasn't won the Premier League, because they're the best players that England brought to the table, but they never ever got that winners medal. You know that, and for me, disappointed for them, but at the same time, somebody like Jamie Vardy doesn't need to move to go and win that title, because he's already got it in his back pocket.
He's got it, hasn't he? I think, I think Vardy would have gone. Just before we completely switch to the Premier League then, a bit of trivia, but also a question for you. Rob Boyle said, did Cardiff, Newport County, Wrexham and the Riff Raff, his words, not mine, start at the very bottom of the Football League when they joined?
I don't know the answer to that. All I can do is tell you where Cardiff were a few seasons before I signed, and it was in League 2 or Division 3. Wrexham are currently in Conference. Newport County are currently in League 2. Swansea City have been all the way down the bottom. So for me, all four teams in Wales have earned the right to have the success that they've got by starting at the bottom and going all the way to the top. Cardiff have done it. Swansea have done it. Wrexham have earned their respect and the right in the FA Cup with the runs that they've done. Newport County have done the same. So for me, you've got to do it by credit. You've got to earn the right. You know what I mean? For me, and you know, I mean, I'm probably contradicting myself because my previous comments in other shows, but I'm here to be shot at. I'm here to be proved wrong, and I think with the way that the Premier League's going, with the way the Championship's going, I call the Championship side on our show on a Friday Premier League 2, and it's that good, it's that strong. So, but why should a team just walk into that division? Why should they take Rotherham's, Luton's, Coventry's, Middlesbrough's, Cardiff, Swansea? Why should they take somebody's place? They shouldn't.
What you got to remember as well is like people are like there's a Scottish league now. When Cardiff, Newport, Wrexham, Merthyr all joined the Football League, there wasn't a Welsh league. There wasn't a Welsh football league for them to play in. So they joined their only option was to join the English Football League. Cardiff joined in 1920. Swansea followed a year after. Obviously, they it's what they've always done is follow Cardiff. No, but like that and that, there's a big difference between that, isn't there? The, like when you've got no other option, and when you just join in because you think you're too good for.
Yeah, listen, Si, I'm sure weren't Swansea City minutes away from going out the Football League about 10, 12 years ago with when Robinson and Trundle and all them were at the Vetch when they. I'm sure there was a game which they had to win to go up. Yeah, I realised that when I said it. So they'll go up.
But if he had signed for with Ferg when Fergie wanted him, of course he'd have won Champions League.
Oh.
He'd have won the whole, wouldn't he?
He'd have won 10. He'd have won the lot, wouldn't he? He'd have won the lot. I think I meant in Newcastle. His decision to go to Newcastle. And
let's be honest, that was stubbornness more than anything, wasn't it? Rather than like a career choice, if that makes sense. Like he went there because he didn't go there because of Fergie, rather than making the best choice for his football career. And also, Newcastle born and bred, isn't he? Yeah.
So, listen, he didn't do badly out of it. He was Newcastle's record goal scorer. He's a hero there. He got to be manager there. He lived the dream of many.
Well, look, mate, I'd rather be Cardiff City's all-time greatest player, goal scorer, like a legend, than win the treble, Premier League, blah blah blah. So, I think a lot of people would go with that as well. It's not as if he was scrimping around the sofa for money because he didn't sign for Man United, Right, I want to talk about the Premier League because we don't always get to talk about the Premier League. Obviously, we talk about the Championship Friday, and then we kind of have a guest on a Monday. So I wanted to take this opportunity to have a little chat. Manchester United and Liverpool are bringing back the 80s. They're level on points. Goal difference is quite big difference. Liverpool 17, Man United a +9. But I do find it amusing because I find the Premier League is so unpredictable. So this is the points tallies. I'm not going to say all the teams, but it's 33, 33, 32, and then it's 29, 29, 29, and then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams on 26. So right down to 10th. I mean, you could argue Arsenal and Leeds on 23. Like, they're not out of Europe and things like this. So it's so unpredictable. I personally don't think, for instance, Man United have got the consistency to go and challenge for the title. I think if it was based on away form, they'd probably walk it, but they don't seem to be able to get that same consistency at home. They also can't defend set pieces, which is a big problem in the English league. Liverpool, I think, are the best team in the league, but they do not seem as consistent as they have been in the last couple of years. Man City seem all over the place. Spurs, I thought about a month ago, I thought Jose was really souping them up, ready for a good run at the title. They've faded away a bit. And then I look at Leicester in third, 32 points. And I just think, right, they could be the team to do it.
As Liverpool go 1-0 down.
I know, I was going to say that.
Danny Ings has just got
Southampton been very
this is my point, Si, about Liverpool. I think sometimes I'm not saying league tables are false because league tables don't lie. But I look at you said there about goal difference. If you take the Crystal Palace game out for Liverpool, there's the goal difference.
Yeah,
There's that one game gone or increased. I look at Liverpool's last 2 games. West Bromwich Albion at home drew 1-1. They didn't play very well at all, and they were getting frustrated. They were getting anxious. And what happens last 5 minutes? They give a goal away. Newcastle United, yes, they missed a couple of gilt-edged chances, but Newcastle was stubborn. Newcastle had a couple of good opportunities as well. And then tonight they go 1-0 down against Southampton, who are a decent side, by the way. And you can't afford to give Southampton a lead because they can also be stubborn. Yeah. They can attack you. This season is going to be.
Sorry, mate, to interrupt you.
No, it's all right.
Can we ban biased football fans from the chat? I need these comments to be completely non-biased, based on football ability. No club bias in here, please. because Gavin there said United are going to drop out of top 4. I don't think United are going to go anywhere close to winning the title, but I think they're comfortably going to make the top 4, because I look at the other teams, and if you look at the form since the end of the first lockdown, I think United's probably, if not top, second in that. They've been very consistent, even though they seem as if they've been very inconsistent, if that makes sense. They've consistently got points, but
I think you can only base things, Si, on, for me, on current value. What I watched yesterday with Man City, with a depleted squad, I'd say, with a couple of COVID issues, goalkeeper who, for me, is miles away. I don't even know how he played with a couple of things that he did during the game, but did absolutely blew Chelsea away. And for me, I think Pep's got this. He's got this knack of coming from nowhere, and
he's very experienced.
And they've got a couple of games in hand, by the way, as well. You know what I mean? Especially after tonight on Liverpool, and you know what I mean, from the position where they are, they've got January transfer window coming up. Man City, I think, will sign a player, a centre forward, I believe, and who knows? Listen, the Premier League is it's exhilarating. You can probably go down to Southampton to Everton for the top 4. So you're looking at the top 7 at the minute for the top 4. It's exciting. It's something that I don't really focus on and stuff, because I think anybody can beat anybody. I look at Crystal Palace can beat anybody on the day. Wolves are a decent side. Leeds seems as though 1 minute they can be fantastic, the next minute they're rubbish. Arsenal it's very strange. Chelsea, Villa. I think there's only the bottom 3 probably who are struggling a little bit.
Yeah, I agree, mate. It'd be interesting. I really do. I think the only way United would, for instance, get a real run at the title is if they sign a top quality defender, central defender in the window, because they've got they signed those 2 young wingers in the summer. What's his name? Palistri or something like that, and Diallo. Incredible players, very young, incredible players. And when you add in that to players who are hitting form, even Pogba's been playing well lately. I don't know if you've seen him in the last couple of games. He's been, particularly the last game, he was the best player on the pitch, and that's what everyone's been waiting for from him. And ironically, it's either because he's annoyed that he's been outshone by Fernandes, or it's because he's putting himself in the shop window to move, which is sad in a way for neutral fans, because if he'd been playing like this for the last 2 years, we'd have been in for a treat. The other thing I was going to ask you, and I feel like this is only fair because I questioned you about Arteta. So every time Solskjaer loses a game, everyone's calling for his head, the media swarms, he's out of his depth, he's not good enough, he's tactically clueless. Now, whether people believe he is or he isn't, and I'm sure the majority of the Cardiff contingent in our chat think he is. However, he does not get the same scrutiny that Frank Lampard does, who came into the same job a little bit before Solskjaer. Arteta, who's down in 11th, could be fighting relegation if he carries on the way he's going. What's going on with Frank? Because he looks as if he's struggling this year.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because you can only judge people on what you see. And what I saw yesterday, they were all over the place. They were all over the place defensively, offensively. The league tables don't lie. The Frank can't be judged couldn't be judged until he was able to sign his own players, which he has this season. He's spent a lot of money. He's invested in a lot of players. He's brought his own style. He's got a mixture of young players, old players, experienced players. He's brought in some big hitters. Thiago Silva, Pulisic, Werner, just to name a few. And I'm really concerned, because what you don't want to do, Si, is lose that status, do you, as a hero, as a legend, and it's not really going the way that probably Frank thought and expected. I thought they were going to do a little bit better. I thought they were going to be stronger, more consistent. They've certainly got the players to do it, but I just don't understand why it's not working, or what's going on, or if it's just the Premier League being the Premier League at the minute and this uncertainty with no supporters, and you know what I mean. But we can only blame that for so long, and it's the same for every other team. You know what I mean? That people say that Sheffield United at the bottom of the league with 2 points because there's no fans. Well, but then it's the same for Liverpool. It's the same for Leeds United. It's the same for Aston Villa. It's you know what I mean. For me, Frank has got to be put on the pedestal the same as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He's got to be put on the pedestal the same as any other manager, Jose Mourinho. So for me, it's a results business, and he'll be feeling. I think he'll be feeling the pressure because Roman's not a manager who probably plays with sentiment too much. He's quite ruthless when he wants to be.
Yeah, spot on, mate. It's he won't have that. Like, I dare say Frank will get a bit more time than some of the other managers have gotten from Abramovich just because of who he is, but he won't get unlimited time. Personally, I want to see Frank Lampard, Solskjaer, Arteta, and anyone of that ilk, the new managers come through. They've got to be given the same amount of time and same faith shown to them that Ferguson got when he came in, that Wenger got when he came in, that Klopp got when he came in. Let's not remember, Klopp didn't have the best of starts, because you can't really tell how good these managers are going to be at the top level until they've built their team.
Yeah.
And yes, they've all signed players, but they haven't built their team yet. They've still got players from the previous regimes who are generally, they're the players letting them down at the moment. So let's let them build. I don't know how other people feel about that, but
for me, you hit the nail on the head a couple of weeks ago. You said that clubs who hire managers should not. They should be given the full year. There should be a window that you replace or change managers. Yeah. And for me, it's the only way, because managers are going into games. They're going into times of the year where you can see in the faces, in the interviews, they look like they're under pressure after a victory, after a defeat. They're not enjoying victories. They're hating defeats. They look ill. Some of them. So they look like they're under severe pressure. And people say, "Well, it's not pressure. It's not pressure being football. Being a football manager is extremely high pressure." I remember, and I'm going back, and the viewers will probably know who I'm talking about here. But Joe Kinnear. So Joe obviously had a heart attack at Newcastle. Mm-hmm. Joe did a pilot practice scheme where he wore a heart rate monitor during the game. And Steve Evans, the old Crawley manager, did the same thing. So they both wore a heart rate monitor during two separate games, not against each other, and both were extremely dangerous levels that they were worried. Doctors were worried about having heart attacks and things. And this is concerning. That even the managers who were sat there calm. Graham Souness had a heart attack. You know what I mean? With pressure as being a manager and things. So it's listen. You know what I mean? It's health first. You know what I mean? If people's health allows them to do this kind of a job, which is high pressure, because it's Harry Redknapp talks about it all the time, doesn't he? That you're watching games, you're scouting games, you're travelling, you're talking to players, you're sorting tactics, watching games, watching videos, training, your own things, talking to your staff. It's a 24 hours, 365 days a job a year. It's a difficult one, but it's the best job in the world when they get it right. But it's those managers who don't get it right. Sometimes you see them side, don't you, when they lose a job, that they look like it's a relief to get the sack. You know what I mean, and having a bit of time out to reflect, and then come back in refreshed, ready to go again. I'll use Ollie as an example. Ollie at Cardiff looked ill. He looked like he had the world on his shoulders.
Didn't he,
but now at Man United, he looks energetic again. He looks like he's enjoying it because he
looks bang up for it, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, he's learned because he's been sacked before, so it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? I know that sounds really stupid, but what's worse? You know what I mean? He's getting sacked and thinking you're never going to get a good job again. Well, he did. He's got other opportunity. He's got a platform now to enjoy it. So it's hopefully people can continue enjoying it and pushing and giving us that enjoyment, because we need characters as well, so don't we? You know what I mean? For me, characters and managers' characters are the best ones. Ian Holloway lost his job recently at Grimsby Town. I love Ian Holloway. You know what I mean? From my Cardiff days when we battled at QPR, it was amazing. And I want people like that back in. It's they make interviews amazing.
Oh yes. So I want to go through some comments, but the first comment I want to bring up is Gaz. He sent a super chat and he just said, "Thank you for taking my mind off a terrible week. My ma has COVID, is seriously ill. Much love, lads." Obviously we send our regards and best wishes
totally,
to Gaz
Gaz,
and his family.
Yeah, hope everything works out, Gaz.
It's a sucky situation, but wishing you the best, mate, and your family. And thanks for sending us £10 as well. Like, you didn't have to do that, but I appreciate it all the more. Some good comments though. Gavin says Frank Lampard overrated. Rob Boyle said he's seen a stat that he's got the worst points per game out of the last 9 managers. He thinks it was. And Donna Perry made a good point. She said, felt sorry for Frank yesterday. He looked lost, which he did. But she said, what a waste of money on goalkeepers. And Chelsea, particularly, I don't know if Frank signed them all, but like they have wasted some cash on some goalkeepers since Courtois has gone. And they all look woefully under, below the level they should be.
Yeah, I totally agree, Si. And sometimes I think I look at some of the English goalkeepers at like the Joe Hart who sat on the bench, and yes, goalkeepers make mistakes. Joe's made a couple of high-profile mistakes in his career, but he's consistent and more consistent than some of these foreign goalkeepers who come into England because it's there's more pressure on goalkeepers. There's people want goalkeepers to play a certain way. I'm old school. I want my goalkeeper to be able to catch, punch, and throw and kick. I'm not bothered about he can pass and he can dribble and he can do all this stuff what a goalkeeper doesn't need to do. You know what I mean? Like, I look at Man City's goalkeepers. He didn't want Joe Hart because he wanted a goalkeeper who would come out and play. Edison's probably one of the best footballers I've seen in goal probably in my career. He's probably better than me as an outfield player. So, you know what I mean? But I just think goalkeepers for me, I'm old school. I want to see goalkeepers being able to save shots and do what goalkeepers can do.
Yeah, GD Parry there says Jock Stein obviously had a fatal heart attack at Ninian Park when he was manager of Scotland. There's been a few, haven't there, managers over the years who've become ill because of the stress of it all. And ultimately, like, I think we all agree, like, we'd all like to see the likes of Solskjaer, Lampard, Arteta. This is the next generation of managers. And I don't know about you, but I want to see them be the best managers in the world. I want to see in 10 years' time them be feuding like Fergie and Wenger, or Fergie and Rafa, and all these different feuds we've had over the years, Keegan and Fergie, and I want to see them all falling out. But I want to see, and whether it's Patrick Vieira or Arteta or Pep, or I want to see the next generation. But the only way that they're going to be able to ever reach that level is by giving them the time to build their own teams. Klopp has been able to build his own team. That's why Liverpool are now reaping the benefits of it. If they'd sacked him when they were going to, after I think it was 18 months, there was rumours of him being sacked. At that point, he didn't have his team in place. So, like, to sack him, it's almost like there's no point in bringing a manager in if you're not going to give him the players, the backing that to build his team, isn't it? Like, you can't. It's like you're sacking a manager for the previous manager's signings. It makes no sense to me. Donna also said, I've lost her now. She said something like, look at Solskjaer now. He's joint top, where United bared with him when he was having a bit of a rocky spell. And if United could sort out their defending, they'd be, I think, clear of, what did we say? I can't remember what the stat was. But if they could defend corners, they'd be clear.
Yeah, they'd have the good 8 points, yeah. Besides, I look at Man United could have sacked Ole Gunnar Solskjaer easily sacked him from what happened in the Champions League. You know what I mean?
When they got stuffed by
just alone. You know what I mean? But they didn't. They stuck by him. They've given him an opportunity. Let's see, you know, because the window's an important one as well. Does he sell players? Does he buy players? Does he invest? Does the club invest to try? I also think he needs. For me, I'd get rid of a couple of players who were not in my plans, but also I'd invest in bringing a couple of fresh faces in to push the other lads along.
Just to fill anyone in who doesn't know, there's a full lockdown. All schools are closed. GCSEs cancelled. GCSEs were already cancelled in Wales, and we found out an hour and a half before you even had your announcement in Wales that the schools were closed, because Wales is ahead of the game.
Yeah, well,
laughable, mate. Laughable.
We said at the start side, didn't we? Listen, I feel sorry for the little kids. I know my little girl who went into school today was buzzing that she was going back to see her friends and see her teacher. Now she's not back at school for another 2 months. And I know, listen, there's bigger picture, there's health, you know what I mean, and stuff.
Yeah.
And
all my kids are devastated. They can't go to school. Like, it's really upsetting them. But what can you do, mate? Anyway, we don't want to go into all that because we're trying to take it away. Rob Boyle says, like Neil Harris, we've purposely steered clear of Cardiff. Obviously, their game was off. We will talk about Cardiff on Friday in the Championship show. What I will say is Neil Harris should have been sacked by now, and that's just the way it is. They haven't sacked him for whatever reason. When they do, we'll talk about it. I think that's about it, mate, isn't it?
Oh, well, listen, you know what I mean?
What else can you say?
Yeah,
The
the club's sticking by people. Is that financial? Is it? There's something.
I feel like a bit of a hypocrite because I've just ranted for 10 minutes about clubs sticking by managers to build their own team, and I'm saying Neil Harris should have been sacked. But in my defence,
I think it's different.
I said when he was appointed that it was the wrong choice. So
It's different in the Premier League side for me. I think it's different in the Premier League because the Premier League's about investing in something which is a 2 or 3 year program, whereas the Championship, it's a different animal. It's about getting somewhere. You've got to get somewhere because you can't get stability in the Championship, because if you get stability in the Championship, you're going to be stuck there forever. Stability in the Championship is the worst possible thing you can have.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it?
Yeah.
Donna makes a cracking point. She said that
It's full of them, isn't she?
Yeah, Fergie was lucky. She says his title-winning era team more or less built itself. I mean, he was fortunate. I don't know if I'd say lucky. Fortunate that he had such a group of players come through together, but he still had to, to build them into a team. And what people forget, the last title which Fergie won.
Yeah.
He won that with like some massively.
But he ran away clever. He ran away clever. By
Players.
the way, he ran away clever. He knew exactly what was.
Because they weren't giving him money anymore, were they? But what I mean is that if you look at the squad, the last squad he had to win the league, I don't think any other manager wins the league with that team.
Ah, totally agree. Who saved Alex Ferguson's job back in the day?
I know this, so we'll throw it to the chat.
He's a current manager.
First person to get it. Alright,
he's a current manager.
A bit of competition you have, and so when we did the Kev show just over New Year and Christmas, he's giving away prizes every show he does.
Is he?
Yeah, flash.
Yeah, he is. He's
giving away his prints. He is. We're doing like little competition.
I'll start drawing then.
So what he did is he's drinking this bottle of gin as we're doing this show, as we do, and he's just doodling as we're talking. He's drawing like a picture of me, signed it.
I've seen it.
He's giving it. His
two correct answers, by the way. I think Grant got it first?
So look, Mark Robbins, Cade.
Oh, FA Cup Mark.
Yeah.
FA Cup Mark.
Yeah, FA Cup Mark. Could we give Donna Perry that? Although she says Mark. I don't know if FA Cup Mark could be Mark anyone, couldn't it?
FA Cup Mark Walters? No.
Mark Robbins scored against Norwich City, didn't he?
Yeah, he's
and I should say, because obviously there is some Cardiff fans, we're not saying we're not going to talk about Cardiff. If people ask questions, we will answer them. What we're saying is on our list of subjects, we've purposely left Cardiff off. Because they're rubbish. I got a question for you, Andy Campbell.
Go for it.
So a few weeks ago, we predicted our top 4 for the Premier League. Someone asked us during the show. Has yours changed, and can you remember what your top 4 was? So rather than try and remember, what if you had to pick someone out the gun to your head, what's the top 4 going to be?
Well, I'll answer the first question. I'll answer the second question first. No, I can't remember. So I'm going for a fresh 4. If it's the same 4, if anybody can remember my 4, good luck to you, because I can't. I think Man City are going to win it. I don't know. It's something about yesterday or something about what Pep's doing. So I'm going to go Man City 1. I'm going to go Liverpool 2. I'm going to go United 3. And I'm going to go Leicester 4.
So I'm going to go probably. I think I'm going with that in reverse, mate. So what did you say? Leicester City 4,
Leicester City 4, Man United 3, Liverpool 2. Man City 1.
I'm going Leicester City to win the league.
Ooh.
I'm going
controversial.
Manchester United to finish 2nd. Liverpool to finish 3rd.
Wow.
And then 4th, I can't decide between Man City and Tottenham. I just got a feeling that Mourinho's going to do something this year, whether it's win a trophy or getting
Yeah.
in the top 4. I just got
Well,
a feeling
I think
they're playing for him, mate. I think.
Yeah, I think the best chance Jose's got. They're in the semi-final this week against Brentford as well in the over 2 legs. So they've got an amazing opportunity to get to Wembley in the Coca-Cola Cup. I'm going to call it the Coca-Cola Cup.
You know, in the Milk Cup though, mate. Who do you think's going to win that? The winner of United.
I think it's going to be.
City.
I think it's going to be Tottenham against Man City final. And Ricky Villa. Ricky Villa is going to score the winning goal.
Yeah, absolutely. Mate. But I thought that. I thought that Man City Tottenham final. But someone told me United have got a really good record in the League Cup against Man City. Apparently.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I think they have. Yeah.
So,
I'd love Brentford to get in the final. I would. I think it'd be amazing. Amazing for football. Amazing for a football club. But I can't see them beating Spurs over 2 legs. If it was a one-off game, I'd give them half an opportunity, but difficult.
Yeah, no surprise that all the Liverpool fans in the chat have got Liverpool winning the league and Man United out of the top 4, which is
the Liverpool fans
can't let your football bias come into these decisions.
The Liverpool fans in the chat will have Liverpool winning the Coca-Cola Cup this year. He's been on the line in. Yeah,
well, don't get me started. Don't get me started, mate. That's when you know. Be interesting. The Premier League is wide open. GD Parry says, "Who's going to go down with Fulham? I just want to wipe that smug grin off Richard Osman's face." Oof.
Well, unfortunately, I think Chrissy Wilder's Sheffield United are going to go. I love Chrissy. I played for Chrissy before during my career. A fantastic man, great manager, great coach, great guy. But yeah, having 2 points on the board at Christmas is difficult to turn that around. If he turns that around, manager of the year all day long. Fulham, and to be honest, West Brom. From what I'm watching at the minute, West Brom as well. The shipping goals are really struggling. It's going to be difficult to not see. For me, those 3 not going through the trapdoor. Saying that, Brighton is struggling as well. But
yeah, I think for me, it's Brighton's going to go down. Sheffield United, and then I think you could take your pick of Palace, Newcastle, Burnley, the rest of them. I wouldn't be surprised to see Palace, even though there's quite a 20 points between them and Sheffield United. I haven't been massively impressed with the way they've been playing Palace. But West Brom, what a decision to sack. What's his head? And bring in, it's made no difference whatsoever to their defensive record. Yeah. Just a little thing. Gavin just said, "Be honest, Si." I think he's referring to my top 4. I'm always honest. It begrudges me that I have to include Liverpool in the top 4, but I believe that they will be in the top 4. So I'll say it.
Yeah.
And obviously, they got a good chance of winning it also. What else we got? Donna says she hopes West Brom stay up so that Sam can keep his record of never being relegated. Indeed. Leslie Coates, Brentford versus Boro next week in the FA Cup.
Yeah, I think it all depends for Brentford how they get on this week in their League Cup, but it also depends for Middlesbrough as well how serious they see their league form. Because listen, everyone would love an FA Cup run, but for me, the way that Middlesbrough positioned themselves this year or 2020 in the Championship, for me, they've got an opportunity to get in the playoffs, but they can't afford to probably then get injuries in the FA Cup or have more games when they don't need them. For me, the leagues are, at the minute, it's a viable chance to get in the Premier League and to get in the playoffs. So for me, they've got to utilise that and go for it.
Indeed, mate. Indeed. Who do you think is going to be manager of the year, or who would be your manager of the year now in the Premier League?
In the Premier League,
it's a tricky one, isn't it?
Yeah, probably.
I think the Southampton manager could be up with.
He could. Ancelotti's got an opportunity.
Ancelotti,
maybe he's
Brendan Rodgers.
Brendan Rodgers. Aston Villa potentially after finishing. Just well, they got safe, didn't he, last game of the season last year? So I think you've got to give credit where credit's due, and in certain aspects, and give.
They're the best assistant manager in the game, haven't they? With John Terry.
Yeah, well, exactly. And the thing is that you utilise your talents, don't you? I look at the signings what Villa have made, for example. You know what I mean? They looked at the Championship and thought, which players are the standout performers in the Championship? They go and get Matty Cash from Forest, Watkins from Brentford, and they're ripping the Premier League up, both of them.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear what Gaz actually said, what he thinks of Jared Bowen, obviously since he's signed, and what's the other one who signed from Brentford?
Ben Rama.
Ben Rama. I'd be interested to know what he thinks of like watching him week in, week out. I know Jared Bowen didn't play much from the start last season, but I think he started more this year. But it'd certainly be interesting, to say the least, what someone who watches week in, week out, because I do often think, why don't teams go down into the Championship and pick off some of the best players more?
Yeah.
Because you get them a bit cheaper than what you will.
So you look at
Stuart Campbell. Sorry, mate. Your dad said Bielsa for Manager of the Year so far. Jesus.
Well, oh yeah, that's like saying like years ago when Kevin Keegan just attack, just don't defend. It's a great philosophy, but it's as a fan, it must be heart in your mouth stuff every time you play. Madness. But I look at Eze's side. Eze for QPR. You know, what I mean, we raved about him last year on the Championship show, week in, week out. You know, what I mean, he was in our top in our top twos week in, week out. He'd always be getting goals, setting things up, and the goal he scored for Crystal Palace last week was just phenomenal.
Yeah, 100%. What subjects have you got this week, mate? What would you like to talk about?
I'd like to talk about managers and the managers merry-go-round, what's happening in a minute. Obviously, Joey Barton lost his job today. People, you know what I mean, people who are Joey Barton haters won't be sad to see him go, but yeah. I think it's disappointing to see managers leave. Stuart McCall left Bradford. Obviously, I mentioned Ian Holloway lost his job. David Dunn, ex-Blackburn Rovers footballer star, lost his job at Barrow a couple of weeks ago. The Motherwell manager lost his job over the weekend, and I just feel really sorry for managers this time of the year, because they worked hard from the summer to this point, and it's like that they're not going to be trusted with a pot of money in the window, so we'll sack him and replace him with somebody else who's going to bring players in, and then they change their fortunes around. And I just feel really sorry for certain managers at certain times of the year, because I've never thought about it the way that you thought about it in Celtic, about managers being able to keep the job up to for me, end of the season and finish the season, if that's promotion, if that's safety, if that's relegation, and then end of the season, anybody can go anywhere they want, which is fine.
Yeah.
But give managers an opportunity to platform their consistency and have a philosophy for a full season. You know what I mean? Listen, I know I was frustrated with Jonathan Woodgate with things what I wanted to see and things what I was told I was going to see, but you've got to give somebody an opportunity. If that's a director of football, and bring somebody in above them as guidance and help, then do it. But for me, second a manager isn't always the answer. The grass isn't always greener, surely. Yeah,
and I just think sometimes clubs need to remember, it's almost like block out all the outside noise, the media, the fans, everything, and remember why you employed said person. And don't sack them in the middle of the season, because all that does is disrupt everything. You're almost writing off the season, and I think that's a dangerous precedent to set for the players. And I don't know. I don't like it at all. We've seen a load of managers go this week. It's disappointing, mate, to say the least. And I think there'll be even more, mate, before January's up. I've got to be honest.
I agree.
End of the financial year as well, coming into April. I think.
Yeah. I agree, unfortunately, but like. More. People get sacked. People resign. It's normally people jump in before the push. Sometimes, you know what I mean. That there's conversations behind closed doors, and sometimes that can be to protect managers and give them an opportunity to go and get another club, or you know what I mean. Listen, there's managers who get jobs left, right, and centre. John Sheridan's got. I think he's had 12 clubs in 15 years or something, which is just outrageous. It's an unbelievable stat. But for me, just give clubs an opportunity to have a bit of stability and let players, because players are having to impress new managers all the time, which is unfair on players as well, because a new manager comes in with his new ideas, doesn't like a player, he's got to leave, and it's especially with the uncertainty of players and contracts and the amount of free agents which are still out there at the minute as well with players. It's probably a worrying time to be a player at the minute.
Yeah. Do you obviously the window's open. Is it open now? Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, any teams that you think should sign a particular player or a particular type of player?
I think for teams like Middlesbrough, for example, I think they need to have probably quantity, have a little bit of backing, have a little bit of backup to push those kind of players. If they go straight in the team, then fantastic. If they back up and push the players to another level, even better. I look at the Premier League, same thing for me. I think Man City needs a centre forward. I think Aguero's been an absolute hero for the club. He's pushed them to a level that nobody ever expected them to be at. But he's not getting any younger. For me, he can come off the bench. He can do what he's been doing. But I don't see Gabriel Jesus scoring as many goals as I think he should be scoring. And I look at the goals that Liverpool score: Mane, Firmino, Salah. Man City don't have that at the minute. Harry Kane scores enough goals. Other teams have goal scorers who score these goals, and I think Man City, for me, they've got to go out and sign that kind of a player.
Yeah, I do too. I just want to circle back. Sorry, mate. I know we moved on a little bit, but Reece made a good point. He says when we were talking about the managers not being able to be sacked mid-season, and Reece makes a good point. He said if that's the case, Cardiff wouldn't have been able to sack Trollope, and they would have gone down, and they would have never hired Neil Warnock. So it does open up a can of worms, doesn't it? And whilst we're looking at it as a point of view is giving managers time to build their own team, etc., etc., like we talked about, they don't get enough time to do that. They get the blame and they get sacked quickly. But equally, in that case, for instance, that was the right decision and it worked out well for Cardiff.
Listen, you can go back to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, can't you? You know what I mean? That he underachieved, he didn't do very well, so that the club sacked him. And you know what I mean? Man United fans will have a different opinion right now on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer than every single Cardiff City fan will have of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because he didn't do what everybody expected and wanted him to do. Whereas Man United now, people will think, yeah, he's doing an amazing job. He's an excellent manager. Well, it's a matter of opinions. It's so diverse being a football manager, and the conversations are so it's blinkered views. With football fans, it's great. You know what I mean? I've got an opinion. You've got an opinion. All the guys all the guys and girls in the chat have got an opinion. It's fantastic, and for me, it's the same thing about Neil Harris, same thing about Neil Warnock. You know, the grass isn't always greener. You know what I mean? The people say things on social media, in conversations, live podcasts, live interviews, and say, yeah, the manager's time for him to go, and then you bring a manager in who you don't believe is as good as the previous one, and sometimes be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, I suppose you can find any example, can't you, of a good example, like Reece has just said there, or you can find another example of where a manager's given time and they go and do well. It's one of them, isn't it? He said not only did he do a poor job at Cardiff, he signed so many players. I think we had 8 or 9 strikers on the bench, on the books under him. So yeah, there's a lot of aspects to that story, I think, for sure. Stuart Campbell, Andy Campbell Senior, says Manchester United to sign Haaland and then they'll win the league.
If that was the case, if he signs for Man United, he would put them to another level, because he is potentially the kind of player who would. Is he better than? I don't necessarily mean better, but does he improve them that much more than Cavani, Rashford, Martial, whoever else they've got? He would give them, for me. Does he make that much of a difference? It would give them more mobility and more movement going forward for me. He would give them another level. He would run in behind. Where Cavani holds balls up, he fronts everything. He's that focal point. But so is Haaland, but he runs in behind. He's got a good touch. He's neat and tidy. He's sharp. He's quick and around the box. The goals that he scores at Dortmund are another level. Yeah, you know I would say he's a much better finisher than Rashford. Rashford misses a lot of chances. Yeah. I just think United don't necessarily need a striker, because Cavani's looked very sharp. They just need a really good central defender and a holding midfielder, and I think they'll be set. Let's have a look if you've got any questions. Yeah, guys, you can send in your questions. We'll be happy to answer them. What was the story with the Sheffield United player? And something about, I saw a headline about a Lamborghini crash or something. Do you know anything about that? No, I don't know. No. So it's the headline is Sheffield United probe Lamborghini crash images from social media. Sheffield United are investigating images on social media which appear to show French forward Lys Mousset crashed Lamborghini. The police say they arrested 2 men on suspicion of drink driving in Sheffield in the early hours of Monday morning. The orange Lamborghini had been in a collision with parked cars.
Yeah, I feel like we had this conversation about Championship Club last year, and
well, we had
drink
there was
driving and stuff like that.
yeah, well there was an incident with Jack Grealish as well that over the start of lockdown. So I'm going back in February March time, where Jack ended up in a bit of bother that he'd been somewhere where he shouldn't in somebody else's house, and came out and drove his car, hit a couple of parked cars, and got caught on CCTV. And he held his hands up. He did something he shouldn't have done. But listen, footballers are role models. You only get one opportunity to be a footballer. You know what I mean? Don't ruin it. Don't ruin it by doing something so stupid. And you know what I mean? That listen, I'm not. Listen, the football culture's changed so much. You know what I mean? I drank more as a professional footballer than I do now as an ex-professional footballer. It's mad. You know what I mean? But like, football and drinking was a culture back then. It's not a culture now where football and drink mix. Football fans and drink mix, and they mix really well because it's a socialising thing. It's a thing to go. You know what I mean? I know a couple of guys in the comments, and I've met a lot of them in pubs or certain things, and been back in Cardiff, and it's been amazing. It's great, but you know what I mean? Players and drink do not mix, and don't ruin an opportunity at a Premier League club by doing something so stupid and ruining your reputation.
Leslie says you drink more coffee now.
I do. Well, coffee and Coke. It's a nightmare. It's caffeine. Don't get it.
Sure.
Nightmare.
The other thing I was going to say, you mentioned Grealish being out and about when he shouldn't have been. Mendy, was it, of Man City, broke the COVID protocols by having a party or something. Was it a dinner party or something like that? Ridiculous. And when you've got Man City, haven't they got like a load of cases in their group as well? Yeah. In their staff. That's real poor. I'd be fuming if I was his teammate, because they've got to suspend him. They have to suspend him because he broke the protocol, not because necessarily he's got, because he's got it. They have to suspend him because he's broken the protocol set by the Premier League. So they're going to miss him for 3 games or whatever it is. I'd be fuming. This
is my point now, Si, that footballers need to understand how privileged they are. This country and the UK is in a complete lockdown for 4, 5, 6 weeks, right? So footballers understand how important you are for everyone's sanity. You're allowed to do your job. Everyone's allowed to watch you. Please don't ruin it by doing something stupid so we don't get the opportunity to watch it. You know what I mean? Because if you're not playing because you contract the illness, then I feel for you and your family. It's horrible. But if you're ruining it because you're doing something and you're choosing to do something that you shouldn't, I've got no sympathy for you. And for me, it's an opportunity for football fans to really dig deep and get together and watch as much football as they can and support their clubs, because there's nothing else to do. But if players aren't sticking to the guidelines and realising how lucky they are, then they don't deserve this opportunity.
Yes, it's frustrating, isn't it? Kay Charles asks, who had the best car at the Mighty Boro when you were there, Andy, and what car was it?
Who got the best car? I wouldn't probably say anything stood out in Middlesbrough. It was more, the players were well paid. You know what I mean? A lot of them are drivers anyway, so that probably stuck out for me, that I had to drive my own car. So I was classed as a young pauper because I drove my own car. Where some of the older players had drivers to drive their cars for them. So they were classed as posh or classed as rich because they had someone driving the car for them. Where I remember one day at Cardiff City, which was great, by the way. It was quite funny. John Robinson. So John signed from Charlton, didn't he? John was one of the nicest guys I came across in my time of football. Never mind just at Cardiff City. And John rocked in one day when we were at Ninian Park, and we parked in the car park over the road, which next to the park, and rocked in a red Lamborghini. Was it a Lamborghini or a Ferrari? I can't remember which one of the two, but obviously both. Much of a muchness. And everyone was just absolutely gobsmacked. We just got promoted to the Championship. John obviously signed for a big fee, big wages, and rocked in an amazing car. And it was just like everyone's just mouths just dropped to the floor. And but John carried it off. John was a lovely guy. Really, really, really loved John's company as a lad and a player.
Indeed, mate. Spot on. So yeah, footballers making mistakes. I guess it's not unusual. Yeah, so what's the score in the football? Southampton still winning?
Still 1-0, yeah.
Who had the best car that, or who had the worst car when you played for Cardiff City?
The worst car? It's probably Chris Barker. You know, Chris loved his Ford Focus. Barks loved his Ford Focus. He would never, you know what I mean? And if Get's watching the show, Barks lived and died by his Ford Focus. He absolutely loved it. You know what I mean? No one would ever be able to say a bad word about him. And you know what I mean? He used to call it a Ferrari Focus, and it was just, it was amazing. He loved it, and you know what I mean? That was just how genuine the fella was. You know, he was just loved it. He loved the humour, and just was never flash, never lived by. But I was never one for cars, me. You know, I always had a nice car, but it wasn't. I didn't know anything about it. If someone asked me what it was, or what engine it had, or what horsepower, or what, it didn't do it for me. Cars have never done it for me. If someone had said me what car did you have, I'd say a red one, or a silver one, or a black one. It was never anything like that for me.
Yeah, I'm not one for cars really. My current car is the first time I've got like a nice car really. I wouldn't say not the first time I got a nice car, but the first time I've treated myself perhaps to one a bit better than what I could have got or needed. Yeah. Gaz says, great show lads. Jared Bowen has been excellent now that he's settled. Ben Rama's been a bit hit and miss though.
Yeah, they're the reports that I'm getting. Obviously, Jared Bowen's playing week in, week out. He's starting, he's getting opportunity. David Moyes is getting some good results out of him. Ben Rama's just not playing. He's not playing. He's not getting the minutes what he needs. For me,
he did the same.
He needs consistent minutes for him to play well. He played week in, week out for Brentford. So for me, how's he going to play well if he's sat in his backside with splinters in his backside? He can't do it.
Yeah, I was just looking. Gaz sent a comment earlier on. He said West Ham are on fire and David Moyes to be knighted. I think that's a bit tongue in cheek because I do believe, if memory serves, he's not the biggest David Moyes fan, but I'm sure he'll tell me if I'm wrong. Rob Boyle said, which player had the worst hygiene? What a strange question, Rob.
Who had the worst hygiene? I wouldn't say probably anybody had the worst hygiene. I wasn't keen on people who didn't have a shower after training. You know what I mean? For me, you always got to have a shower after training. Don't go home and have one.
How you could do that?
You know what I mean? And I'm not a big fan of it. You know what I mean? It's. Listen, just go and have a shower or a bath and and then go home. That it wasn't a big thing for me. It's just have a shower at the club and then you're going home ready to do whatever you want to do, or going to town and do whatever you want to do. It's
Indeed.
Nothing for me.
So now Robbo asked another question. He said, "What cars have we got? What car have you got, right?"
A silver one. What have I got? I've got a Volkswagen Jeep, but I don't know what make it is. It's called something, but I've got a Volkswagen Jeep.
I got a BMW Sport thing. It's like a family wagon.
There you go.
There you go. Gavin says, good show. With you on that. Let's see, do you know what that means? That's what I was going to ask. Finish off then with this. If anyone's got any questions, now's the time to send them. Jamie Carragher has stepped in to sponsor non-league Marine against Tottenham Hotspur. Basically, I'm not entirely sure what that entails, but it looks like it's something to do with the Justice for the JC23 Foundation. Charity, which is because a previous sponsor had pulled out, I think, something like that. But
well, what happened, Si, was obviously now that they're not allowed any fans into the game, so they're going to lose £50,000 revenue from having. They were going to get a small crowd anyway, but it was going to get them £50,000. So TV are going to still show the game, which is going to give that revenue. They've sold some online tickets to Tottenham fans, and people have still bought tickets to give them money, which is absolutely fantastic, by the way. So credit to every single Tottenham fan who's done that.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. So
let's face it, they didn't have to do that.
No. And now Jamie has put his foundation towards supporting the game and backing the game, which is fantastic because I played at Marine, and it's a lovely little club. You know what I mean? It's only got probably 2.5 stands. You know what I mean? If you look at it like that, it's on the stands where the managers will be. There's houses next to it. It's very surreal. So when the game's on TV, just give it a watch, give it a support, and hope for an upset because that will be the biggest upset
Yeah.
in football, bar none, if that happens.
I really would love to see like Carragher's generation. You know, that generation which have just finished but are loaded because they played at the right time of where the real big money was in the Premier League and the football. They were getting paid hundreds of thousands of pounds a week. I'd love to see these guys investing in the lower league teams and helping keeping them afloat, because I'm concerned about some of these teams, as we've discussed previously. What else we got?
It's just difficult. It's just difficult though, because it's throwing money away. It's basically throwing money away because they're just not able to reinvest that money. You know what I mean? Players getting paid, and you know what I mean.
Yeah, of course.
You can't furlough footballers. You know what I mean? Because some of them, if they're on non-contract, which means that they're not on an FA contract, they only get paid when they play. So there's no contract written into the game. If they're on full contract and they're still playing, but there's no fans there, it's such a difficult situation for clubs.
Of course it is, but there is also the aspect of like businesses. I think more likely to get involved in like a consortium. If you've got a Rio Ferdinand or a Jamie Carragher, because they want to be associated with those names. So any way that we can help keep these clubs alive, basically, I think is good. Yeah. Donna Perry says, "Are you going to become a manager again, Andy Campbell?"
No. Very doubtful. Very doubtful. If someone offered me a job, well, they have offered me jobs, and I've thought about it for about 5 seconds and thought, I'm not going to have my fingers burnt again. So I love football. I love my opportunity as a manager. I even when I got my fingers burnt, for about 3 months after, I thought I still want to do it again, and then I slept on it, and then woke up one day and said, that's never ever going to happen again. So I can give my advice to managers, tell people what I think about managers, but I don't think I'll ever put that manager's hat back on.
Good shout, mate. Good shout. A few people asking about the guests next week. Can you give us a clue?
Next week's guest is ex-Premier League player. He's one of the most successful managers in British football. Very good manager who's won a lot of trophies in his time as a manager and as a coach. Still coaching now. Very current. Ex-teammate of mine. Doesn't really give it away, by the way, because I've played for about 45 clubs, so
I know.
Could be anybody.
Come on,
could be
anybody.
anybody.
Out, mate. Spit
could
out.
be anybody. Could be anybody.
Do
Do you want me to tell everybody?
Yeah. Special New Year's treat.
Let me just double check just to make sure I get the date out, because that will put me to shame if I do that, won't it?
Yeah.
So
go on while you check. Geraint asked, who in our opinion is the worst pundit around? Personally, he hates Chris Sutton.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Because
there's a few.
Yeah, one thing I will say, by the way, because I got shut down a little bit on social media, that Leeds United put a tweet out about a female pundit, and I retweeted it. Yeah, I retweeted it, and I didn't retweet it to be awful and retweet it to be disrespectful and negative.
Drawing attention to it.
Yeah, I retweeted it because I just wanted to retweet it because I didn't agree with it with the comment. And the comment what I didn't agree with, and regardless if she was female or male, was that Leeds United got promoted because of COVID. Leeds United got promoted because they were the best team in the league. End of. Yeah. That's my opinion, and I'll stick by that. And that's why I'll say it on this show. Next week's guest is current assistant manager at Connors Quay, ex-TNS manager who's won 10 league titles, ex-Premier League player who played for Middlesbrough, Crystal Palace, is called Craig Harrison. So Craig Harrison will be on next week's show, ex-Hartlepool United manager. I played with Craig back when I was 16, 17, 18 year old, so good 20 odd years ago. He's a good guy. Really looking forward to it. Yeah, really looking forward to it. He doesn't do many interviews, by the way, so he'll be we'll get some honesty out of him as well.
Always the good ones. We've had a few people like that who don't do many interviews.
Yeah.
Someone sent me an email. Johnny Wish has been in. he hasn't been watching live recently. He sent me an email asking if Mehmet Dalman will be coming back on the show. I am going to try and get him on at the end of the season to talk about Cardiff season and stuff like that. But I don't know yet because it's a complicated one. But we'll see what happens. We generally have got a rule that we don't have someone on twice or back.
Yeah,
twice,
it'd be nice.
It could come on the championship show technically.
It'd be nice to always keep an update and keep that relationship. It's something that is important to both of us. It'd be nice to get that regular input or regular opinions because football clubs evolve, isn't it? You know what I mean? Guests normally, guests don't change their story, whereas Mehmet's story changes every season.
Yeah, and I think I would really like to ask him some questions about Neil Harris and how the board view it really this year because they can't be happy. I've got to be honest. Anyway, back to the thing. In your opinion, who's the worst pundit? Well, maybe not the worst. Who infuriates you more than others, perhaps? Irritates you?
Listen, it's probably more. I wouldn't say it's individuals. It's probably sometimes. I'm not a big fan of listening to a Gary Neville watching Man United and a Jamie Carragher watching Liverpool. I'd love them to switch so they're impartial. I don't like BT when BT do. Chris Sutton and Robbie Savage like to have an argument. I'm not a big fan of listening to people having an argument on live TV. If I wanted to watch that,
I'd shout over each other, don't they?
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like let them have their opinion. Let them have things. You know, I think for me, I wouldn't say I dislike anybody, but I have certain channels that I like to watch more than others. And for me, I love to watch Sky games. If there was a Sky game on and a BT game on, I'd watch Sky all day long. You know what I mean? That's like when ITV and BBC do the England games. I like to watch BBC more over ITV. It's just a commentator, and it's the pundits that they have in place as well. You know what I mean? I'm a big fan of Gary Lineker. I like Gary. I like the way that he does things. He handles himself. He's a hero man anyway. So
I think if I could pick, I'd have Gary Lineker presenting. I'd have Roy Keane, Gary Neville, Jamie Carragher and Micah Richards would be my four pundits at the moment. They're the four I enjoy the most.
What I like about Micah is him
and Roy Keane got a bit of a bromance going on, haven't they? I really like it. Enjoy their banter.
But Roy doesn't believe he's got it. Roy likes his BN Sports is good as well. I like that. But some good people. But the only they get the top games, by the way. So the channel wise, it's amazing. But I like Roy's relationship with Micah, that he doesn't believe there's one there, so he's straight faced. He doesn't laugh. Where Micah's wetting himself every time that Roy just looks at him funny and just Roy's just thinking, what's he laughing at? It's comedy gold, and it's a relationship though. It's a double act. You know what I mean? Jamie Carragher, Gary Neville get on really well. So for me, they should both be in the studio battling it out for and against certain things. So for me, it's important to keep those relationships going for me.
Yeah, I think so. I think they're my favourite ones. There's a couple who I'm not a massive fan of. I don't particularly like Graham Lasso, although he does a lot of the American stuff now. Owen Hargreaves is a bit of a strange one for me because I quite like his general punditry. What I don't like is when he's doing Man United, everything's outstanding. I cannot stand that. I can't stand, give an opinion one way or the other. Don't just say everything's great. Not a massive fan of Martin Keown either, but I don't hate him. It's just something there just irritates me. I think Jamie Redknapp has kind of taken a back seat over the last couple of years, haven't he, to Carragher and Keane and Neville. He doesn't seem to be on as much, and I think I'll tell you who is very good is Daniel Gabardon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, agree.
Gavin said that.
Agree.
Very good.
I like Lee Hendry as well. He does some good stuff. Championship games, so they're earning the stripes, aren't they? They're getting the experience in the games, which are on championship regular games, and Gabs handles himself impeccably well. He always looks the part. He's a good looking guy. He looks the part. He dresses well, and he speaks really clear. I'm a big fan. I played with Gabs and I'm a friend of his anyway, but it sounds like I'm being a little bit biased, but I like the way that he does it. He uses class, same as Lee Hendry does as well. They look dapper, they look smart, and it's appealing.
Yeah, spot on, mate. I think he's very good. Donna says Cardiff City TV's commentators have got better. Someone, I can't remember who it was, and I think it was on Instagram, but someone tweeted us and tagged Cardiff City TV, I think it was, and they said that we should do the pre-game show on Cardiff City TV. So like move this show on Cardiff City TV. I was like, oh, don't know about that, because we'd like to talk about a bit of everything. But, it's still nice that someone said it. Lee Hendry is very good. James Costy, good shout there. He said Liam I can never say his name. Rosinier, I don't know. Liam Rosinier, he's good though. Anyway,
yeah, he is,
whatever his name is, he's good.
Yeah, his dad used to be a player as well. His dad was a good footballer, and he's assistant manager at Derby County now.
Ah, there we go. Who's the best female pundit? So I've got a problem here, is I don't really know their names.
I don't know.
That's terrible.
Yeah,
but I don't know their names.
No, I don't know that.
I also don't watch a lot of live football outside of Cardiff.
Well, saying that, I do enjoy watching the WSL highlights after matches.
Yeah, I was going to say.
You know what I mean?
Alex
I watch all the games. Yeah, Alex is
quite good.
Yeah, Alex.
Is she the one that does
his class as well?
Alex Scott.
Yes.
Yeah, she's. I think she's pretty good.
Yeah.
Radio Wales has been dreadful for the last couple of years. I remember years ago they used to have real problems with Leighton James trying to control him during games. He was just a nightmare. Like, he didn't seem to quite grasp that he was on like live radio. But there's been some good pundits, some bad pundits. My favourite pundit is Andy Campbell. Just thought I'd say. Gabby Logan, Donna Perry says. She's like the OG, isn't she?
Yeah, I like.
She's the original.
I like Gabby, and what I like about Gabby is obviously she
knows her stuff.
Yeah, she knows her stuff. She's confident. Obviously, she's from a family of ex-football manager. Terry was a dad. Terry Orth was a dad. She's married to a professional rugby player, a Scottish international rugby player. So she's very talented in knowledge of sport.
Knows her stuff, mate. Knows her stuff. Okay, I think that just about wraps us up for this evening, my friend.
Yeah.
Massive thank you as ever to all the guys and girls who've tuned in live, and of course to everyone who's downloaded the show afterwards and watched it on the catch up. But join us live next week, Monday 7:30. Friday we're back with the Championship show, 7 o'clock. We'll be talking all things Sky Bet's Championship. It's going to be interesting because there's been games called off, there's been send-ins off, there's been goals, there's been bad defending, there's been arguments, there's been sackings, there's been everything. So tune into that 7 o'clock Friday night to talk Championship. I will be back tomorrow evening 7:30 with the legend that is Super Kevin McNaughton. He'll be there with his goblet of gin, and we'll do a little bit of unscripted talking football and films and whatever else comes up. But massive thank you to Black Diamond Sports as ever, and of course Bespoke Financial. And don't forget, Bespoke Financial, Darren Ralston are giving away a free will worth £140 with any new policy which is taken out. So check out the offer because it is a good one. He's looked after Andy for years with the various policies, including critical illness and injuries cover. They are top of their field. They do provide award-winning service. It's not just a tagline for the sponsorship. We are very proud to partner with such a brand and people, and I love it. But Andy, tell us about them, and what they do for you, mate, just to finish us off.
Yeah, listen, I've known Darren and some of the other guys at Bespoke Financial for many years, and Daz has helped me with mortgages in the past. I've got a couple of policies with him in a minute. Critical illness. Listen, you don't know what's around the corner, and for security, family, and to know that my kids will be looked after is the most important thing for me, because you know what I mean. Listen, you don't know what's around the corner, especially at the minute, and I'm going back donkey's years which I've had. I also have an injury insurance cover, just to cover myself through football if something happens at football, that I know that you know what I mean, that medical bills or everything will get looked after, and also can put money in your pocket. So if anybody who plays any kind of level, semi-professional, pub level sport, it covers you if you fall over in after a night out, for example. You know what I mean? Not that
Yeah.
I'm planning on getting injured, but it just covers you all the time, and it's
Covers
so
you for
important.
everything,
So
doesn't it?
important. Also, before I finish, please join us on Friday, because there's going to be a little bit of a love fest, because I don't know who saw the action at the weekend, but Bradley Dack got his goal on his first game back, and I've been stalking the man all over social media, by the way. So if I don't get him on this show by the end of the season or the summer, I will be extremely disappointed.
I'm gonna try and get like a heart overlay and some love music to play every time you talk about him.
Mate.
I'm gonna do my best to create that this week.
He looked
effectively.
amazing as well, by the way, at the weekend.
He could be the lift though. Blackburn got such a good squad this year.
Yeah.
I really fancy them to do something now he's back. If they can keep him fit, it'd be amazing. Go back to Bespoke Financial, mate.
Stewie Downing's getting a call. That's all I'm saying.
100%. I think going back to Bespoke Financial as well, that's what I would say to people is, like, the world the way it is, I think insurance cover and cover like that is so important at the moment. Just give him a ring, see what they say, speak to Darren, tell him that we sent you, and he'll look after you. He'll really really have a look. And all the people, by the way, just reminded me, Cade, who tweeted Costa Coffee last week. Amazing, thank you very much. Do it again this week. Let's get that sponsorship. Still posing.
I had an interesting.
Now you can all tweet Bradley Dack as well.
Interesting message sent to me via one of our viewers who got in touch with Costa.
Oh, did he?
And she and Costa told them they were very happy with all the comments and very happy that the coverage they're getting, but unfortunately it's not something that they do.
Boo!
Yes, I know. Very disappointed.
It's alright, Starbucks do. We'll switch, get some stickers. Stickers over here. That's it. Yeah, nice to get acknowledgement. Pepsi Max. I don't drink pop, mate. Don't drink fizzy drinks. Tell you what I did drink over
Sugar
Christmas,
free,
which I really enjoyed, was have you ever tried what's it called? I can't remember the bloody name of it now. Brewdog beers.
Yeah. But I haven't had it, but I've seen it. Yeah.
So I had I brought a crate of them in Asda's. It was like a mixture of all the different flavours, and they had like a pale ale and punk IPA. The punk IPA was real good, mate. Really enjoyable stuff. But anyway, that's another show. Talking about the fine wines and the fine beers. As ever, thank you to everyone who's tuned in.
Yeah, cheers,
Andy,
guys.
It's my
Really
absolute pleasure to
Loved
sit
it.
and talk to you, mate.
Flies by, doesn't it? Time just flies.
It does. It just goes so quick, and we didn't even really have like a thing to stick to today. We were just talking,
like freestyle.
Old
Freestyle.
football.
Yeah.
Always nice to go a bit old school, mate, before we go back to the guests from next week.
Yeah.
But join us Friday, mates and girls and gals, 7 o'clock. Let's talk some championship.
For the Bradley Dack Championship show.
Yeah, that's what we. But the thing is, mate, that's the one in it. We've got to build up the championship show this year.
Yeah.
It's a different time slot, and people struggle to get there for this one. So we're going to build it up. Going to get some guests on there, get some championship players on there. Got a few ready to go. But in the meantime, have a great week. Join me for Super Kev Unscripted tomorrow. Danny Batten Fight Show Wednesday. Until
Cheers,
then,
guys.
Have a great week.
My mummy and daddy have been talking about life insurance. It sounds like something to protect my brother and me, but I don't really understand. Then my Auntie Louise told mummy about Bespoke Financial Teesside. She said they're a local company who helped her with her life insurance. Mummy got in touch, and because they're based locally, a man called Darren was able to come to our house. He was really friendly. Darren stayed for a cup of tea and made it all really easy to understand. He said that life insurance will protect our home and family if anything bad were to happen. Like if mummy or daddy got sick, then we'd get enough money to take care of us, and our house would be paid for so it wouldn't get taken away. After an hour, Darren said goodbye and mummy and daddy seemed a lot happier. Once it was all sorted, we could all relax and watch a film together as a family. I don't know why they didn't do it sooner.